Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all out there? It's Mourinho here on behalf of BSN TV. This is part of my 10-week series that I'm doing. I'm doing local stars in the past. Local stars in the past now, as far as Ballymena is concerned, I would have it as people who have obviously reached some sort of pinnacle in their sport, their chosen sports. Today, obviously, I have a man here. I'm sure you're all aware of who I have with me. I have Eamonn Loughran here. Eamon, great name in the local boxing surroundings, and Eamon, it's very great of you to invite me out to your house, beautiful splendid house that you have, and it's nice of you to make me very welcome.
You're very welcome, Sherman. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Eamon. That's great. Hey, it's great to be here, you know. And obviously, what I'm going to be telling you, all you folks out there and all my viewers, is that I'm sitting here with a personal friend of mine, and today I'm not going to be treating Eamon as a friend. I'm going to be asking Eamon questions about what he done in his career as far as getting from the bottom to the top is concerned, because this gentleman here, I'm sure we're all very much aware, started off at the very bottom, and reached the very top of his career. And I just want to start, obviously, Eamon, by I have a bit of paper here and a bit of research that I've done. Obviously, being brought up, Eamon, your family name, obviously your father, the great Ned Loughran, God rest your father's soul, by the way, a great man he was, a very highly respected man in this town, even to this day, and around the whole of Ireland in the boxing circuits. At a young age, Eamon, your father put you through the drills, didn't he? Put you and young Paddy through the drills, didn't he?
He was the one that was, well, I came across, I was first to go at it myself. My father at that time was, he came in at a later stage, so he did, but I came across from the Derry Road, so he did, along with a lot of older boys. Your own brother was one of them, so was Melvin, and some of the wards and the likes of Wes Lamont and boys like that took me across with them. I was about 7 or 8 years of age, and I dragged along with these boys to the All Saints Boxing Club, and that's where it all started from. So it was. And when I got into the All Saints Boxing Club, you heard of all the names of the past boxers, Johnson, McNally, and the Niels and the McEwans, and all the guys that had done well, Tony McElvoy and the wards and all. And that's what inspired me as a young boy at 10, 11 years of age, coming into championships. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an Irish champion, an Ulster champion, a County Antrim champion, the same as these guys, and go on and then as you get on and you were doing well, you wanted to do better and better.
Well, obviously that's I think that's in anybody's sport. You know, I think you're well known even through the past. You know, that if you're going to compete, you're going to do something in the competition. You're going to try and compete to the, you know, and get something out of it. You know, you were never one aimer for getting in shy-handed. You know, you'd have done your preparation to a top-class stage, and you're a, you know, even at a young age, you know.
And that was one of the things, you know, when my father started training me. He always preached to me about the great athletes. And one of the guys he talked to me about was Ed Moses, the great runner.
400 metres hurdles.
400 metres hurdles, and he talked about him being the first person on the track and the last person off the track. And he had that philosophy for me. He says, you know, if you train hard and you do everything right, you end up being the champion. So you will. And that was the philosophy. Hard work, and that's why I would say to kids today, and that's why when I'm training them, you only get out of it what you put into it. There's no easy way to the top. It's not.
And hey, I suppose that's the same in life in general, really, isn't it? You know,
it would be the same in life. If you only get out what you put in it. But boxing's unique because it's a very honest sport, and you have to be honest with you, because if you cheat and you cut corners, you're the person who's going to suffer when you're in the ring, and
you'll know that you'll know.
I don't mean to criticise other sports to this, compare it to other sports, maybe is the word. But if you're having a bad day in football or Gaelic or hurling or some of the team sports, basketball, whatever, rugby, you know, the other 10 players can carry you through and you can go on ahead and win. If you don't get it right in boxing, you'll be it.
And you're in the ring on your own. You're responsible for the outcome.
So you've got to be
2 minutes or the 3 minutes or the 15, Raymond.
Whatever it is, 6 rounds or 8 rounds, you're responsible for the outcome. So you have to dedicate yourself, prepare yourself, and that's where the experience comes in and learning. Yes, you can have a bad day and still win, and that's where you get a bit of talent. So it is,
carries you through
then, so it is. But in general, I always took the approach is if you put it in, you train hard, and you prepare for the likes of a County Antrim championship or an Ulster championship or an All-Ireland championship. If you prepare hard and do all the homework and do all the work right in the training side of things, the chances is you're not too far off it. You know, and I was pretty lucky I did.
Well, Eamon, you have mentioned a thing there, All-Ireland titles. I have it down here. You won 7 All-Ireland titles, am I right?
That's correct, Sean.
7 All-Ireland titles. That's some feat for a young fella. Hey.
Every year, you know, it was, and it happened around Easter. It really worked then well for me because you had to diet and things like that, and you went off things for Easter anyway, and Lent period come up and you went off things anyway, so it worked out well for me, and I always seemed to do well in All Ireland, so that I would say, and I was always that wee bit stronger than most of the kids, so I was for the first 8 years in, and the fact was I was boxing since I was 7 years of age, 7, 8 years of age, so by the time competitive boxing came along, I think it was 11, and 20 or 30 fights under my belt.
You've got a ring experience, you know, it goes a long way.
And plus I was stronger than most kids, and the fact that I had been training with guys that were always older than me and a wee bit more mature, and I was able to work with them or stay with them as it was, and by the time I came 11 years of age I was just too strong. Seemed to be too strong and too skillful for anybody that was there.
You were talking about self-belief too,
you built a self-belief, so it did. And also, you know, in the boxing sense, when I was boxing, I knew when I got somebody hurt to light on that, and I knew that I could see it in their eyes, you know, that here I was, and I was that much more experienced than these kids, that I was able to step on the gas.
And that was your moment,
That was it, and I pounced on it, so I did, you know, in All Ireland's not there. I think it was probably one of the only kids that had something. Most of the titles I went down to Dublin, particularly in the county antons, I stopped all the boys in first or second round, and in All Ireland was pretty much up to 15, 16 years age. It's one of most of them in stoppages. Most of my fights were stopped.
That's remarkable. That is remarkable. That is remarkable. And of course, at that level, you know, as a kid, you know, and as a juvenile, getting into sort of like, you know, like I suppose junior adult, as you would say, or whatever, you know. And you're getting into the national stadium, you know, there's people and they're all watching you, and you know, and you're putting boys away, you know what I mean, you're stopping boys in the first and second round, and people's clapping for you, you know. Did you notice that there was even strangers? Did you feel an air of people that didn't know you looking at you and saying, hey, that kid there's good? Did you get something out of that? You know, did you get that?
Oh, you knew that, and people that come up to me and say, look, you're one for the future. We're watching you through our Irish team coaches and that like that young boy Loughrан, or young McGee, or McCulloch.
Oh, I saw.
You know, there were 3 or 4 guys
in
my time that stood out. There was, and but we had a fantastic club, so we had in All Saints, and it was under, that's what I'm saying, under my dad's stewardship at that time.
I actually have, Eamon, well, I'll revert to that later on there now in the story, obviously.
The secret was, and he was the man behind it also, was at that time, he built momentum, so that, you know, I won an All Ireland.
But you weren't the only All Ireland champion in the club at that time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He created a thing there where, you know, when I got one, the next guy won, he went on.
So he wanted to do what you done, and then.
And it just wasn't me. It was everybody who was putting on you. David Elliott, Dermot Elise, Conor Hamill, Sammy Wright, Liam Arnold, and just going. I think actually at one time there were 13 young lads boxing in Dublin. And that period, probably, you know, people talk about the Farah Dara generation, and they said that was a successful. They brought the cup up from Dublin.
I believe Dr. McKenna was
Dr. McKenna cup. Well, we also brought it up, so we did. And I think we just lost out in one year.
So would that be 2 brothers who's brought that up then? Would that be your uncle Seamus?
He brought it up along with
Seamus was a great renowned, Seamus Loughrane, for people that know Seamus Loughrane, you know, a great renowned coach over the years. I took Sean Johnson, Martin Ward,
McNally,
Francis McNally, all top class cream, you know, and Seamus brought that cup. Are they the only people ever to bring that above the borders? You would have said
that was the only 2 times it was brought up.
So the only 2 times that was ever brought up to the north, as you would say, was by All Saints and by your father, God rest his soul, and his brother Seamus.
That's right.
That's a tremendous feat for the Loughrane family.
It's hard because it's from 11 years to 16-year-olds, and you have to. It's every club has the most champions, Irish champions, and I think the year we won, we had something like 3 maybe 4 Irish champions and maybe a finalist or a couple of finalists, and you had maybe a team in Cork club, and they had 3 and no finalists, and vice versa.
I understand.
No, big clubs like the Holy Family in Belfast, they haven't won it. Holy Trinity, Drumland,
Meg Lada,
a lot of big clubs. So that was a big achievement, so it was at that time, you know, for all the lads. But I mean, you have 13 lads, and we're all trained together, and everyone sees the other kid won an All Ireland or a county anthem or an Ulster. he wants to win it, and the next guy
Oh,
wants
and
to win
it brings that type of winning mentality, you would say.
You know, and that was saying, you know, if I run hard and train hard and doing everything right, the next guy wanted to do it. He's seen, well, this is what wins you titles. You know, so that was the mentality of all since at that time. Very, very successful.
Well, I'm right now.
Still is.
Myself, no, it still is, certainly. Of course, they try to bring that mentality in at all times. You know, the people that are there at the minute are doing a great job. Certainly. I went to it, as well as you're aware, soccer was my game. I liked the soccer more, you know, and I got a punch in the nose, and you know, I didn't like it, you know, and I wanted to play football, you know, because I could sort of move quicker with the ball in my feet, you know what I mean? But no, I remember going to the boxing club, even seeing yourself, you know, and looking up, and I mean your father there, you know, as I can't reiterate enough how much your father's name is respected in the town, as far as all the efforts that he put in to not only put his effort into you and your life and his own family, first and foremost. But then into the sport of boxing alone, you know, his name's revelled around the place. You know?
And as I say, Sean, a lot of guys would come up to me today, Sammy Wright and all them boys and EAMONN and that, and they said, you know, what your dad done for me.
And life just along on.
Just in life too, you give them a good example in life too, you know, and generally you told them things, and it's very good to them that way, and they seem to have respect. I think so, you know.
It wasn't just a coach team, it was more a mentor to you, you know what I mean? And I must say, you're going the right way, you're going the same way, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people say the same about yourself. You know, and I for one, obviously. And that's what this life's about, you know what I mean? We're all in this life to help each other and to put something back into life. I'll just go after the All-Ireland titles here, because obviously that was the start of your career. Things started a wee bit more seriously, and you went to the Gaelic Games, which took in all the countries there, like the Nordic countries, and obviously you had the main British Isles there and stuff, and obviously the whole of Ireland thrown in. And you went there to fight Eamon, which is quite a bigger scale now than the All-Ireland fights, you know what I mean?
That's right, you know, it was, you know, you're fighting the champion from every country, so you are, you know, in the Gaelic Games, you know, so that was...
You'd have been good to get something out of the games, you know,
Joey Kazaki was there that year.
Joe Kazaki, former world champion.
The greatest British boxer of all time.
Undefeated, well, I differ with you on that, I differ with you on that.
Well, some people...
You know, I'm not starting around with you, know, but I definitely differ with you, there's no doubt about it.
Well, he was there, the same year, he was the year below me, so he was, and actually my mate fought him, John McAleese, fought him, so he did, and he beat John McAleese twice, so he did, Joey Kazaki, so he did, so, you know, that's the sort of standard some of the guys that were there, you know, he was there.
You're only been undefeated world champion, you know, you can't dunk that, you know.
You had all the top Irish guys there, you had all the top English guys there, Scottish guys, and Welsh guys, Canadians.
You fought that 2 years in a row?
2 years in a row.
And you got 2 gold medals?
I got 2 goals, and...
Well, that's something else, isn't it?
And the boxer the tournament.
And you got boxing the tournament the second year.
That's right.
You know, that really was, you know, like, that at that level in your lifetime was, you know, that was the biggest thing you'd done.
At that level,
you know, that was, at that time in your life, that was, you know, that you probably couldn't sleep at night time.
Well, I'd come to a stage that year of boxing, and I went on a bit further that year, so normally you have a break in the summer in amateur boxing, so you did, but I never had any break that year. And I worked out, I was sitting thinking about it, and I had 27 fights in 1 year. 27 fights as an amateur in 1 year? As an amateur in 1 year. So
that's that's one of the TV.
Actually, when you're talking about a box in Dublin 1 year, or that year, so that Gaelic McCrory was there. Barry Graham, who coaches up north.
Barry Graham, a great name in the town. Barry Graham has dedicated 15 years of his life there to go beyond himself.
The 4 of us went to Dublin. I boxed a guy who was Irish champion a year older than me that year, so that on the week, on a Friday night, I boxed him. On a Saturday night, I went down to Wexford and boxed an Irish champion down there, so that there were 2 fights that weekend. So
against the best, the Irish
the best, you know, so. And that was
you weren't wasting any time then, no, if that was the case, hey, no.
That was the road, so
there you are, hey. And then obviously out of that there, Eamon, you then became the under-19 All-Ireland champion, which was just a step before the senior level, was it?
It was,
so you were on your way to the top then, as far as
that, I was getting picked then for the Irish team, so it was after the 2 goals in the game.
I have it here that you'd represented, obviously, well, as I say. You then obviously you were picked to represent Ireland as the best at your weight in Ireland. You know what I mean? There's no doubt about that from what your record was stating. You then got the nomination, Eamon, to represent Ireland in the World Amateur Games in Cuba. Now that must have been a big thing whenever that news came through. I'm sure your family was over the moon. You know, for you, Eamon, to come from humble background that you could come from, to represent your country,
that's right,
or the island, the national, you know, obviously that's the situation. To represent Ireland in the World Amateur Games. How did that feel? Did you not feel Do you know?
That was fantastic, so it was, Sean. But then you didn't, at that time, you didn't have much time to think about it and that there, but it was a great feeling, you know, to be picked for Ireland to box in the World Championships. But that was, the minute you were picked, you had a week, a couple of weeks to suck it in and enjoy it, and that ever. The next thing you were in a training camp, getting ready for it.
Hello, did you just went to a company, how long was that for?
It was like the elite training as today. We were County Kerry, so we were on the train. I met Ray close on the way down from Belfast. The two of us jumped the train, and from the train,
very close,
very close, and the pair of us went to Dublin, from Dublin to County Kerry, so we did, and we were stuck in a hotel, and County Kerry, the Irish team, so we were, and 6 weeks in County Kerry, and on the beaches.
That's everything, all your meals and all your, you know, never say, you just had to concentrate on your sport.
Absolutely beautiful.
Fantastic,
6 weeks of life, and I mean, and it was competitive, the Irish training. You had to train along with the boys and we run against each other. Everything was competitive. So it was for that 6 weeks, and I was probably the fittest ever I was.
Then you went to Cuba. You went to Cuba. How many fights had you in Cuba?
4.
You had 4 fights in Cuba. Was it a qualifying stage, the first round, the second round?
Quarterfinals, semis, or
final.
Semi-final.
Did you believe that you could do something? You were quite obviously going over aiming to give it your all. You were going over there to give 100%.
Well, I won the 2 goals. I hadn't been beat that year.
You were confident.
I felt I was stronger than any guy, that I was fitter than any guy. We actually had a Cuban guy train us, believe it or not, a guy called Trotman Bailey. So this was the first guy, the first Cuban coach. Now we started to say, well, you know what, we can pay an Cuban coach to go over and train these guys. So we were lucky. And he trained us straight that. And as I said, we were training at County Kerry. Some of the sessions were 3 or 4 hours a day of practice. You had an hour and a half meter of practice, an hour's running in the morning, and we had an hour's training at night again, you know. So
it was almost militarised put into you,
every day, you know what I mean, and that was it. But some days your head was fried.
I know you didn't do too much,
You know, that's the way it was, you know. And you got a day off and you really enjoyed it, you relaxed, so you did. But he took us to Cuba. He was the coach to the actors in Cuba, along with the Irish coach at that time.
Well, Eamon, I'm sure your mother and your father were very, very, very proud of you when you brought this here.
That's the silver medal.
And that there is the silver medal. This is the silver medal from the World Boxing Games in Cuba in 1987, where Eamon Loughran here had represented Ireland and had got the biggest achievement from any of the fighters in the Irish team. This is something Eamon's very, very proud of. Eamon, you've never touched that from then to this day. It's just sitting there, and you're happy enough to have that there.
I was the first Irish guy to win one.
And you were the first Irish man to win any medal at the World Amateur Games, which I suppose in amateur, you know, in amateur stages, that's literally you fought for a world title. You know what I mean? You know, so that is a huge achievement. Like, you know, that's something else.
It's up there. You know, it's
it's definitely.
The Cubans, you have the Americans, you have the, you have all the nations there. So you have actually, when I fought, I think it was my second fight. I fought a Cuban. And the Cuban coach was, the coach that was coaching me was Cuban. So and I actually thought to myself, what have we really on here for?
I know what you're saying.
He was genuinely on for me. He was delighted when I won.
Strange that too, you know, because them being an amateur country and not turning professionally, they felt that they wanted it all for themselves, you know. Very fair dues to the man, you know.
To be quite honest, I was bricking it against the wall, but
I suppose even just to cut that short, you would have probably thought if you'd have won the fight in the ring, you'd have still had the judges to beat.
You always have that.
You know, you always have that in your head, don't you? You know.
The Cubans were something special, yeah.
And then obviously you'd come home, and the Cubans were, you obviously come home there, Eamon, and you represented Ireland at senior level.
I did indeed.
And you also went to the Multi-Nations Championships.
I went to the Multi-Nations in Germany, so it was, it was actually in Austria.
Right.
So it was.
And that took on quite a few nationals.
You had the Germans, you had the Swedish, so you had, there was a Swedish guy there that won a world title. There was a couple of Germans, the guy there fought Darius Mitsikoski, who only won a world professional title after it. So that, you know, there's a lot of, then multi-nations, it's the same as today. You could end up with guys Olympic gold medals, world champions, whatever, but it's just a tournament with 5 or 6 nations in it. So it is.
But it's of top class nature.
The champions from every nation, so you fight the best in them countries.
Even it says here you got a silver medal there.
I got a silver straight out from an Irish.
That was some gold too. So on the 1 year, out of 27 fights, you had won, you'd represented Ireland, you had been undefeated at home, you had been the cream of the crop, and you'd been the number one in the country.
Thanks.
Well, that's when you were, obviously. You know, you've been the representative. You'd also got the silver medal at the World Games. You've got 2 gold medals and a boxer of the show at the Gaelic Games. You've also represented Ireland, and at Multi-Nations Championships you've also received a silver medal.
That's right.
Well, I'm sure what the next step for you would have been the Olympics, Eamon. Did you think about the Olympics, you know, or was there too much time, or what?
The Olympics was pretty much in my mind, but they were nearly 4 years away, Sean. So the 93 Olympics was the one that I had been going for, because I had just turned 18, so I had, and the Olympics was there. So
that was in Barcelona, that would have been there.
Barcelona, that's right, Sean, and it crossed my mind, but it never was a big thing of, you know, there was the only thing in amateur boxing for me left, really, as I would have picked, you know, that box where
certainly, of course,
you know, if I could go back and say, right, you know, there's something I'd like to do in amateur boxing, that would be it. To be represent Ireland in the Olympic Games. But it's, you know, the Olympics is a hard thing, you know, you're every 4 years, and you know, you have to be the best for the year leading up to it, and then you have to be 100% fit and the best that year. So it's a hit and miss, so it is the Olympics, you know, because you know, there's a lot of great guys just, you know, very close, Ian McGee, a lot of good fighters who don't get the shot at it, so they don't, you know, so it's a hard thing.
As you're saying, it's all about timing.
It's about timing, so it is the Olympics, where, you know, if you...
Then any man that's made it to the Olympics, obviously.
It's a great thing.
Oh,
it's a great thing.
Take away from
I mean, Joey Kazaki missed out, so he did, in the Olympics, you know, and he didn't go either, so there's a lot of that. But it's one of them things, you know, it doesn't, I wouldn't swap my world title for an Olympic medal.
No, certainly not. No,
that's
understandable, and I understand that.
Somebody said to me, would you swap that on the Commonwealth team? You know, the things that I won. So, there's certain things, you'd love to win everything in boxing and do everything, but
I suppose the same in any sport, it's the same in any sport, isn't it? You know, and people will always look back and say, I could have done that, you know. But circumstances may have been different, you know. So then, obviously, you got a phone call one day. Barney Eastwood. Barney Eastwood had looked after Barry McGuigan, he had looked after Paul Hogginson, he had looked after Cristante Espana. There was all them boys there, Dave Boy McCauley, you know what I mean? What was the situation there? They'd obviously had set. Well, obviously there was a cash incentive, you know what I mean? There's been some type of professionalism, and you know, and
I needed
earning a living,
you know, I hadn't been working, so I hadn't, and I wouldn't say it's not the height of it really at that time, but I wanted to continue boxing, so that the Olympics was a dream, but you needed a bit of financial help to focus on the Olympics. So if somebody says to me, like, there's money, or there's a part-time job or something, you go to the Olympics. But I had been up in Eastwood, so I had, and I'd been training. He had phoned me to come up and train and spar with some of the guys, because they had heard about me winning the silver medal in the championships, and at the World Championships. And I'd been up in Eastwood, and he really took a fancy to me, so he did, and he kept asking me would I turn professional. And it was him in the hand. I thought maybe he was a bit young, so I was maybe stay another year, not only. But then I was in sparring with all his professional guys. It was every bit as good as anything. So
well, I have basically uploaded quite a few of your videos there, being a friend and being a personal admirer of your achievements in your career. I have uploaded 1 or 2 on YouTube there a couple of times, on the Facebook pages there that are about, obviously I'm doing this for my own Facebook page. And there's one of you fighting who was a British champion at the time, a great fella, and a guy that I know myself, and a guy you know, and a great guy to talk to, and all, you know, and Eamon McCauley. Eamon McCauley was the British champion at the time, and you were sparring him when you were 17, and Eamon, you were giving him what he needed, and he wasn't getting it all the way he wanted it.
That was that was the way it was in Eastwood's gym. There was no, everybody let go. It was an open spar, and if you weren't, it was survival of the fittest from it. If you weren't good enough to get into there and spar, you just weren't good enough. That's you get dropped and you get hurt. And when I was in there, if I got the opportunity to hurt him, I took it, so I did, and I would have hurt Ian McCauley. Andy Holligan, he was also a British champion at that time. I had a great, it was great, me being young, and these guys were 21, 22, 23, they were that bit older, so they were, I had that great sparring there, so I had, I had nothing to lose with sparring these guys, and getting in this,
and everything to gain, of course,
and everything to gain, so I had the knowledge of these guys, and it was great confidence, so it was, because if I was able to handle the likes of these top boys, that were on and won titles, professional, and I was only a 17, 18-year-old kid. And I thought to myself, this is fantastic, you know. You know, if I can handle these things,
you can always get something out of it, of course.
I was because I'm from Spain, you know, and that was that was wars every day.
Look, that lasted for 3 years. But you had 5 or 6 fights with Barney Eastwood, hadn't you?
It was 8, Sean.
8 was it? Aye. You had 8 victories, of course. 8 victories, which was a good start, you know.
Actually, I had a draw with him, to be honest with you.
Right.
7 and 1 draw. I went to Panama. Panama City. I spent 3 weeks in Panama, training along with a guy called Nigel Wanton. He took me as a young boy to Panama, and I thought, well, that's great. We're going to train and spar, and you know, fighting. So that met a guy called one of the greatest fighters I ever watched was a guy called Mario Zapata. Droza was there, so was, and we met them, so we did, and it was a great experience.
The CBO by Droza?
The CBO was there, so was,
skillful boy.
you know.
And hilarious Zapata, as you're saying, fantastic. Well, look, great rubbing, these are just rubbing shoulders with boys. I know what you're saying. These are the, you know, you do not get any harder than people like that. You know, like Duran and them boys all came from that area, Dominican Republic, Panama, El Salvador, jungle people. You know, them boys know how to train and how to fight.
Actually, when I
how to eat and all.
When I had a gym in Panama City, Sean, and true, this is true, and in the middle of the day, I was doing 6 and 8 rounds of sparring before I went out there, and there was no air conditioning in the gym. I could hardly spar 2 rounds, it was that warm, so it was, and there must have been 300 fighters in the gym, all guys.
Very little air too, you know, not a lot of heat in the option.
300 fighters, it was an open gym, people could come in and watch off the streets, and there was holes in the floors and everything, it was rough and ready, and there was 300 fighters, and I thought, one of them was fantastic. I never seen talented guys, hard men, tough guys like it, and me and then we went 2 white kids.
Certainly, I understand
Nike trainers on, Nike clothes on it, and a lot sort of definitely out of place, you know, but what an experience.
I can imagine so.
Really 2 of the best learning weeks, you know, of my career, you know.
Tremendous. You did a fresh challenge, Eamon, obviously. Your 3 years was up with Barney Eastwood, and you got a phone call one night, and you were telling me earlier on there, you received a phone call from Barry Hearn obviously had rung you. Obviously the father now of Eddie Hearn, who's running the show at the minute. You know, and Barry Hearn in them days was the #1 man match for him. You know, he couldn't really.
You couldn't. And he was making a big name for himself, just like Eddie has today.
Certainly.
He was young, and I spent 3 years with him. And I say, I'll go back a wee bit. These were 3 of the best years of my life. Learning in that gym, what I learned in that gym carried me over the 3 years, because, you know, I want to explain, you had Victor Cordova, world champion, Crescendo Espana, world champion, Dave Boy McCauley, world champion. You had another French guy who was world champion, he had. You had Paul Hutchinson, did I mention?
Contender.
You had Andy Mulligan, who won a European title, all the great Chavez. And you had all these guys, and then you had all the sparring partners coming in to spar these guys. So you had to bring in world class, and it was a who's who in this gym. It was the best gym in Europe at that time. But I just needed a wee change, so that after the 3 years, and at that time my uncle was in London, and Barry Hearn, a friend of Barry Hearn's, drunk in his bar, so he did, and he gave my number to Barry Hearn, and Barry Hearn rung me, so he did, and it was then they arranged for 2 tickets for me to come over, and Gord Paddy came along with me, so he did. But I had an attitude when I went to London. Things hadn't worked out here in Belfast. And the attitude was in London was, you know, this is 5 years. If I haven't got a title, I haven't done what I'm planning to do within 5 years, I'm taking it in, and it's time to get on with it.
But in these 5 years, Eamon, in these 5 years now, right? You were saying to yourself, you were leaving here, you were leaving home. You were married.
Wasn't married.
You weren't, but you were with your wife at the moment, obviously, before you got married. But you says you had to give that time up to, and you had to say to her, which I'm sure you loved the lady, and you ended up marrying her, of course, and you had to sort of, you know, you had to turn around, you had to switch all the valves off and turn around and say, right, I'm going for this here. You know, so you had to try and get something out of that, say 5 or 6 years of your life, to try and obviously prepare some type of future for if you were going to have children and get married and stuff. You know what I mean?
I just the first day I landed there, Sherman, I went out, and the attitude was, I run 13 miles the very first day, So, that
So right from the off, you landed on your feet.
I landed there, straight into the house, the digs that day, and got up the next morning. And you know, there's a lot of guys sharing digs with me, boxers too, and you know, they didn't get up and run. You just done their own thing. My attitude was, I'm here, I'm going for something, I'm here to be. And I told them in the gym, I told everybody in the gym, I'm ready to fight, I'm ready to spar, I'm ready to train. Anybody needs any sparring, or anybody needs me to fight, I told Barry Hearn every month I call him to see him, and I said, look, listen Barry, I'm ready all the time. And within the first year, I had something like 7 fights as a professional. And you know, he says, Eamon, this guy's coming into the bill, we need you on that bill. There's only a week to go, 2 weeks to go. I jumped into it because I was always in shape.
You were always keeping yourself at a level,
at a great level, and a lot of the professional guys will only spar if they're getting ready for a fight. I made a point, I'd spar anytime, and I'd spar anybody.
Just ready to go.
Anybody, and that was because I knew it would benefit me, so that.
Sure, you get something out of it.
I get something out of it, so always sparring, was always ready.
You then had, you were saying you had 6 or 7 fights in the 1 year there.
7, not 1, the first year.
And then in the second year, that was 1992. The second year, Raymond, you fought for the Commonwealth title.
That's correct.
You fought in Doncaster. I might watch it on TV. I might watch the highlights of it on TV, and we were all sitting up in our own house, and we were all panicking because we wanted you to do so well, not only for yourself, but we were thinking of your father, we were thinking of your mother, we were thinking of all the brothers and the sisters, and saying to themselves, "That's going to be great. We're going to get out here and do what you do." You know what I mean? You know, Donovan Boucher at that time, a Canadian, had fought for a world title, was beat by one of a first class world title holder, and I think it was what was his name, Meldrick Taylor.
That's right.
You know, and Meldrick Taylor beat Julio Cesar Chavez. You know what I mean? And he held the belt, which was the WBO welterweight title of the world. So Donovan Boucher, within 18 months previous to meeting you, had been within the top 2 or 3 of the world without a shadow of a doubt. He was very well touted, and there's no doubt about it. Anybody can Google, by the way, anybody can Google Donovan Boucher, Commonwealth title holder. This man he was a first class boxer, he was a very educated boxer, a very, very nimble boxer, and a first class, you know, a great jab and all that there, Eamon. I'll be right in saying that. I'm 110% right in saying that, you know. Eamon.
He was,
Eamon.
you know, at that time when I fought him, you know, it was, you know, people would have said it was a mismatch because he was a big favourite. He was a 10-1 favourite, so it was. And the bookies had all picked him to win, so they had the boxing magazines, TV pundits had all said, look, there was actually a guy says if young Loughran's goes 10 rounds with him, that'd be a good experience for him, you know, if he gets to 10 rounds. He beat Curtin Lang, so he had
Curtin Lang, wow.
He beat Gary Jacobs.
Fantastic. Gary Jacobs fought for a world title a couple of times, didn't he?
That's right, he beat him a couple of months before it, so he did. And
he didn't beat him, he hammered him.
He hammered him, so he did. And basically people were saying at that time, well, it's a stepping stone for young Loughran. And
it would have been a great part of your career, didn't it? So Eamon, in that fight, I have the fight in the house, and you have the fight there too, you know, and quite a lot of people have seen it. I have uploaded it onto the Facebook page quite a few times. I thought it was remarkable. Right from the off, Eamon, that man he wasn't in control of the fight right from the off. It only lasted 3 rounds, which was unfortunate for him. Eamon, he never got a breather. And the minute he came out for every round, from the first round you started on him, to the end of the first round, from the start of the second round to the end of the second round, he never made it 30 or 40 seconds.
All excited here, Sherman.
He never made it. He never made it 30 or 40 seconds in the third round. Even you clapped him.
I called him
out.
I called him a Craig.
And the thing I always take out of that fight myself, without talking too much and taking your excitement away from your honours there, Paddy bounced up out of the appointment and bounced into the ring and went mad. Paddy was ecstatic. Young Paddy, the brother, the little leprechaun they call him. I never seen a man get into the ring quicker than overnight.
I brought Paddy over about 4 weeks before training. I brought him into training camp, so I did in that time. And brought him in, and you know, when you're cutting weight, so you are the first person you take it out on is the person close to you. And Paddy was very, very close to me, so he was. And I said to Paddy a few times I was going to send him home, and I called him names and things like that. And he knew I was in shape, and he would have rung home there. I said to my father, I said, look, Paddy, Eamon's so rude, he's cutting me at the minute, he's going to hit me, he's going to do this. But he knew that was because I was getting ready for the fight. You had to focus yourself, you know what I mean? Obviously, just hang on there, Paddy, and he needs you at the minute, so he does, you know, to be there for him. And Paddy gave me a great hand. He was, in the morning when I came out from the run, I had done the 6 or 8, 9 running. Paddy would hold the pads for me and give me 5 or 6 rounds in the pads. Some mornings we'd done 10 rounds in the pads. That's how fit I was for the Boucher fight. So he knew how much it meant to me, and plus the fact at that time.
Yeah, but that was your big opportunity, but wasn't it? That was your big.
It was a crossroads fight. It was one of them fights where, you know, does he go on to fight for world titles? Does he go on to European titles, world titles, whatever? Or is he just going to fight around British level? You know, and at that time, I wanted to fight for a world title, so that, and like every young boy on the way up, I wanted to be at the best, so that, and I was really 100%. I was very confident that morning. And actually,
and this was even against a man who had proven himself against the best in the world. And you hadn't fought even at that level yet.
I hadn't fought at that level, no.
In professional,
no,
but you were still confident you could do that job, Eamon.
It was actually one time.
Well, of course you had to be, you know what I mean.
But I had written a letter home to her, I think it was a girlfriend of his, and they had sent a letter home, and I read the letter. It says, "We'll be home if we win," and I had lost in the camp with Paddy, and says, "Where are you going with this if? I'm here to win. I'm not, there's no ifs or no buts, I'm here to win."
Did you start, can I ask you a personal question? Can I ask you a personal question? Did you get emotionally involved with the teaching that your father had taught you from all them years beforehand, coming up into that fight? Did you sit and did you say, "Dad, I'm going to do that"? You know, and all them emotions that go a long way getting to that stage in your life, Eamon, you know what I mean? Because I'm sure it was a...
I just felt at that time, you know, and
the time was right.
The time was right, confidence, I'd done everything right, everything to detail. So I was still the training, the diet, everything. I knew I got it right this time. Times in the past I had won, and I know right now that I hadn't made the weight right. And there's so much. There's a science to boxing and making the weight, and there's a science to.
I don't think a lot of people understand that.
There's a skill to that side of it too, you know. So, you know, when you're making weight and then you have to fight, then you know you have to get everything right. It's the same for everybody, but you know, and that's the side to it people don't see. You know, there's a great skill to it. Getting the right sparring partners, getting the right people to train with. You know, if you're fighting somebody who's a great mover, then you have to be able to move too. You have to be fast, get somebody in. You know, so that was a great.
That's the cup there, Eamon, that you received there, obviously. Well, I'm sure it does. But hey, I'll tell you what. I tell you this here, it's something that not a lot of people have. You know, you get a cup for the Commonwealth belt.
That's
right. You know what I mean? Obviously,
you know, a cup or a belt, whatever your choice is.
So,
I took the cup to it at that time. You know,
to be quite honest with you, Eamon, there's only a certain amount of people have these type of trophies here, you know what I mean? You know, and you have it, you know, and it's still here.
Oh, that's right.
It's 22 years, it's 21 years later, and you have it here, you know, and it's still there, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think there's another Commonwealth champion in Northern Ireland.
Well, Martin won a Commonwealth champion.
Welterweight.
Right, sorry, Eamon, aye.
I think I'm the only one.
Of course, I know you are, you know, and that's what I'm saying, you know. So for, you know, that again is something that nobody can ever, you know, I mean, you have that there, you know, and you have that, and the lasting memories in the pot.
It's there,
you know, it's there, you know, and that's it there, folks. That's the Commonwealth title, you know what I mean? And it's not easily won either, you know.
I know, it's a great high, so it was sure. Great celebrations after it, so there was, you know. And
out of that there, Eamon, there's another wee thing here, I just want to show the people here, the viewers there, Eamon. You had another wee thing there that you obviously won that year. 1992, you had won the Jeffrey Simpson British Boxing Writers Boxer of the Year. Now, in them days, you had Nigel Benn, you had Chris Eubanks, you know, you had all them boys who were box office.
That's right.
They never got Boxer of the Year, and you got Boxer of the Year that year, you know what I mean?
Well, Ben actually won it the year before me.
Nigel Benn won it. And I was going to say that there, the names that are on that trophy for past winners have been some of the greatest boxers that have ever come out of the British Isles.
It's one of them things that, you know, I feel proud of, you know, because it's like when you get to a thing, you know, it's the boxing writers, it's the critics.
Has there ever anybody from Northern Ireland or Ireland has ever won that there before?
Freddie Gilroy won it.
Freddie Gilroy, that's in the 60s.
He was a world champion, and McGuigan won it.
Barry McGuigan, of course. Well, if you're held in that breath, now...
Yeah, that's...
No, but they held you in that breath.
Well, at that time the critics...
They held you in that breath. The people that were criticising what you could do or couldn't do held you in the same breath as the people. You know, so that alone that's a European Footballer of the Year award. You know, in the similar... Or the British PFA Player of the Year. No, but you know what I'm saying, you know, it really is it's on the same level of all that, you know, and yet again, it's in this living room, you have it, you know, and nobody can ever remove that, you know. I won't make me trying to remove it, I know, put it that way.
You never know.
You never know, right? If there's money in it, you have the tickets and stuff, you know. So I just obviously you went from Donovan Boucher, and then you get Irish Boxer of the Year as well, you get British Boxer of the Year, then came the big thing, you defended your title, your Commonwealth title twice.
That's right, two defences.
You then Did somebody say, right, we're going to do this, or did you plan this, or did somebody else turn around and say, look, we've got you a chance at a world title?
Well, when I beat
and mind you, this was the world title, that was the WBO world title that was held by some of the greatest welterweights that ever lived. Julio Cesar Chavez.
That's right. Well,
you know,
after beating Donovan Boucher, that put me in #1 position.
Oh, right, yes.
So by right, they had to fight me. I had to fight for a world title. I was the #1 contender. So, and at that time, I was helped by a Danish guy. He didn't want to fight me. And
Dirk Bo Jacobson. I remember that very well.
And they brought in the next guy, was a guy called Lorenzo Smith. He was the #3. So they had me in the #3. I was the #1 contender. He was the #3. He had already fought for a world title 3 or 4 months prior to it. So it was a fight for the world title, and so it was for the WBO belt. So it was.
There you are.
And King's Hall in Belfast.
Oh, I was at it.
78,000.
I was at it. There was me and the brother, and Ali Wright, and Big Gillett McCrory, and most of the people from the Derry Road, Barry Graham. We all went up and jubilantly we sung our hearts out for Eamon. We've all known you from.
2 buses.
There was 2 buses went to the Imperial Bar. My uncle Jimmy McFall, he got the buses, paid for the buses. People didn't have to pay for the bus; it would just go on the bus. Come in, have a pint, get on the bus, and get up and support Eamon. You know, and that's very true, Eamon. Jimmy didn't do it for, you know what I mean. And you know, and the following that you had that night, Eamon, I'm sure we were talking about it earlier on there, a cup of tea. It was unreal. There was nearly 7,500 people there. I would say there's 7,000 people there, no doubt about it. You know, there wasn't a couple of hundred. The place was absolutely. What was the noise like, Eamon? You coming out and all, hearing your name and all, and
Sherman.
And your family sitting ringside and all. They all were tuxedoed and all. Me Paddy was doing this and all. You know.
It was electrifying, so it was, because you know yourself, you get into the King's Hall, there's an atmosphere in it already. I mean, I've no disrespect to the Odyssey, and it's today they use the Odyssey, which is new and it's modern, but the King's Hall was just the old venue.
I think even you can revert to the football. These new big stadiums are great, but they don't have the atmosphere of the small den. The ballroom, as you would say.
The King's Hall had it, and knowing that McGuigan was there, I'd watched McGuigan as a young boy, 15 years of age, watched him fighting Joanne Laporte in the King's Hall. And all the big names, and this was a dream of mine, to box in the King's Hall at some stage. And
then you were eventually here, Eamon. You were eventually there. Did you get a phone call by Barry Hearn? Did one of your camp boys set you up, we've got the fight, it's happening, it's on?
It's happening now.
How long was this? Just 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 2 months?
5 or 6 months before it, that this is what they were working on. And then, obviously, there's the negotiating side of it and things like that. And, I've been offered a fight for the WBC title, or WBA title against Crisanto Espana. So when Barry says, no, we're going for the WBO, because you're the #1 contender. So you are. So at that time, I was not sure that I was going to fight, and so was. And it just came around.
Did you personally then say to yourself, I step this one up to another level, you know? You know, we Commonwealth level, all the other things you've done, you'd obviously, Eamon, it's almost from there to there, isn't it?
It's just gone up another level again, Sherman. The sparring was brought in, the better quality of sparring was brought in.
And your diet and all your...
diet, and the people brought in to watch your diet and give you a bit of hand.
And you mentioned the thing there earlier on, Eamon, not to interrupt you. You said about cheating. Now, you were not cheating at all. If you'd have cheated, you would have cheated on yourself.
You couldn't, Sherman. I actually, at that time, I think, if I can remember, I was actually in the it was my first offence of the title. I'd come home at Christmas. I wasn't boxing until I think it was 21st of January. So it was my first offence of the WBO title against the European champion Lorenzo Smith, Alexandre Duran.
That's right.
And I actually had to get up and run on Christmas morning and come home and had a light dinner. That was the type of...
So you couldn't celebrate Christmas in the way that you couldn't get you couldn't get your turkey dinner and do all your things.
That was normal for boxers in general. So it was, you just had to get on with it. See that. At that time, if you're fighting in January or February, you had no Christmas. You hadn't.
And that was the 16th of October 1993. I mean, that's almost 20 years ago. Well, it is 20 years ago coming up on this October here now. You've less hair than what you had then, haven't you? You've less hair than myself.
You're going to get clubbed now.
But this year, this is something that nobody else in this town will probably... It doesn't take any disrespect away from the boxers who have fought in the town over the years, boys who were first-class boxers. But nobody yet, or I can't envisage anybody in the next foreseeable future, to bring this home to this town. Never mind to bring it home to their mother, or to their father, or to all, their family, and never mind their family, their fans, like myself, or their friends, or people out there who stood back and went, no way, I didn't win a world title. This is the belt that some of the greatest boxers that ever fought at welterweight title. Julio Cesar Chavez held this title. No, that belt, Julio Cesar Chavez fought 100 times, but only got beat in the last 10 seconds of his 100th fight by Melvin Taylor.
Manny Pacquiao has it.
Manny Pacquiao, who people call this and call that. Manny Pacquiao held that there for 7 years. You know, so this is the same belt. You know what I mean? You know, each boxer gets a belt. You know what I mean? You know, to hold on to. So there's no, you know, there's no. It's not plastic. It's the real thing. You know what I mean? And what did what did that not feel like bringing that home? You know, first of all, it's nice to come in for your manager. It's nice to come in for all the hard work you done. I'm going to ask you a personal question here. There's a picture sitting there, and obviously it's of your great father. Now, your father passed away, Eamon, there. 10 years ago, and you know that's the great Ned Loughran, not Ned Loughran, that's the great Ned Loughran with Eamon, his son, with the world title belt. Eamon, God rest your father. What was that like bringing that home to your father? What was that like bringing that home to your parish, bringing it home to your people, you know, and making your family proud and all, you know? But I'm sure if you'd done it for anybody, you'd done it for him.
Well, you know, there was mornings there when I was running around the glens of Antrim in the forest park. He would jump in the car and help me down, you know, and he was always there. He was there right from the very start. Every day I boxed, when I was in Cork or Dublin, you know, he was there. And when I lived in London for 5 years or 6 years, whatever I was there for, you know, he was always there on the phone for me. There was days there I felt down, depressed, one day to come home, one day to jag it in. He gave me the wee burst, he pumped me up against his lucky, and you know, you have 2 weeks to go.
The psychological thing, Eamon.
2 weeks to go, come on, dig in there, find in there. You know, it's a lonely place in London, so it is. You know, when you're away from home and that there. And it just, my father was a great inspiration to me. And all the good things that I learnt through him, you know what I mean? He was the example too.
No matter whoever you went with in professional terms here, but I'm sure small things that your father had told you were still in the bag.
You can trust him. You know, he was very honest.
He was giving you his heart
and
his hand.
And that's what I tell, you know, as kids today, I would help out and coach a wee bit. You trust, you know, you tell them the truth. You know, you have to be honest with you, particularly in boxing, you know. And he was always very honest and trustworthy and told me the truth. And he was exceptionally proud.
But how did you feel bringing that? Now I see the smile on your face there. It's that long, Eamon. Honestly, it's that.
You going to get me crying?
What was it? Well, you see, there you are. It's an emotional. You know, I think I'm not trying to get tears out of you here, but obviously, you know, like, I'm starting to get emotional myself. I said, you know, because you know, like, I don't think a lot of people, you know, like, well, everybody heard about it, you know what I mean, but I don't think a lot of people actually understand. It's like running the Saturday morning league. I don't think people understand the work that the likes of me, Monty, and the rest of the boys do. And Monty started at 45 years. I don't think people understand the work that goes on behind. You know, it's okay, right, you're playing this, you're playing... You know, all the work, you have to take personal time out to do these things. And all the work that you put in over the years, and obviously we are great fathers when you were that age, you know what I mean? All accumulated and all acclimatised right up to the top of the mountain until you got this here and brought it home. You know, and your mother there, Susan, everybody knows Susan, you know, and I think, you know, I can't put any words myself what it means. For the likes of myself to be sitting here with a friend, Eamon, I'm not, you know, I know Eamon as he was born, you know what I mean? And to be sitting here, and this guy had the world title belt here, like, you know what I mean? Everybody appreciates it, you know what I mean? And I think, you know, like, obviously this is the 20th year anniversary of Eamon winning the world title, you know what I mean? And I personally have already made a small move there to you know, to get an anniversary type of thing going, you know? And obviously, you know, you brought that belt last year, Eamon, you ran a show last year, you know, you put a lot into boxing, and you got a lot out of it. But Eamon, as I said in an interview with somebody the other day, it's okay putting something in and getting it out. You've put it back in again. And you're sitting there with your t-shirt on at the Braid ABC, you go up and you give them boys a hand. Big John McClister there, John McClister and John O'Rourke, you know, and big Gareth Fullerton.
That's right.
Is it Fullerton?
And John Richmond.
And John Richmond and all the boys. You know, I mean, I was up last year with, you know, great guys there. I know it was lifetime myself. Great guys, you ran a show, Eamon, you had me on it, and I fought on it, and everybody's seen it, and it was it. Eamon, I bought your pinnacle myself. I was all crying weight, you know, but I got a pinnacle myself, and I really enjoyed it. And it actually helped to change me into the person I am today, live with energy and positivity and all the things it takes to do with getting out of the fitness, you know. And the likes of John McClister and them guys up there, you know what I mean, obviously you're up there, you're doing your training and all that there, you know, you're helping and you're coaching the kids.
We have a couple of wee lads at the minute.
You were in Dublin yesterday.
Dublin, a wee lad, Corey Bradshaw.
Corey Bradshaw?
He fought twice there in Dublin over the weekend, and there was outstanding training.
Was he not, was there a problem with the weight or something when he fought at a higher weight?
He actually was half a pound or a pound over the weight, so we hadn't time, it was raining and there wasn't much time to get the weight up, so we decided to put him in at the next weight, which is the weight above, and the guys were that, you know, they were 6 to 10 pound heavier than him, so they were bigger, taller than him. So he's done well
so far, aye.
Fantastic young lad, and I'm just giving him a wee bit of a hand. John's done all the work with the wee lads who he has over the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm just putting my shoulder to the wheel and giving him a wee bit of a hand to see the success of them, you know.
Liam, I've another wee couple of things here I just want to talk about briefly before we. That's a gold WBO ring there.
That's right.
Now, obviously, that's only selected people get that won the title. And you have that for life.
You actually have to defend it 3 times.
You have to defend it 3 times before you get that.
Before you get one.
You defended your title 5 times. You haven't seen that. Right enough. You know that's
I missed out in the second one.
quite a. Well, I missed out in the second one. Obviously, you want to be able to hold your fingers together. Yeah, but that's obviously that's the amateur boxing All Ireland medal there.
That's
you know, which is another. You know, not everybody has them, and that's the Gaelic Youth Medal.
That's right.
That's the Gaelic Youth Medal there from the Gaelic Games. And that's a wee Sport and Eamonns Award down at the Ballymena Council gave you.
I'm very proud of the council, you know. You know yourself, I'm Ballymena man, proud.
You're a Ballymena man,
football team, and we support everything. You want to see any kid from the town, in any sport, whatever it is, get behind them in this town. And that's my philosophy, you know, it doesn't matter who they are, what they are.
I know.
Let's support any kid in this town, because they put in the hours and the work.
I certainly do.
You know,
see, it goes against the grain. Certainly any man that does whatever he does and puts all he does into it and gets something out of it, you say, well, of course it deserves to. This here is not a boxing medal, but this is a very, don't get me wrong. Now you have to get a wee bit fitter in your older age now. But I don't think you would have matched the same fitness you were whenever you were younger.
Different things.
That's the New York Road Marathon, Eamon. You ran the New York Marathon.
And 4 years ago, around
4 years ago.
Well, I've been running through boxing, and I've always enjoyed the running side of boxing, so I have. And I got involved with the local Ballymena Running Club, so I did Ballymena Runners.
Ballymena Running Club,
I wouldn't classify myself as a great runner, but I'm a middle of the road runner. So
great bunch of people too. Great
socialising thing. It's something I've really enjoyed over the last 6 to 8 years. You know, along with my golf and that there, and enjoying my golf. But almost my pastime.
I know you're
very good at it.
I know you're, I'm sure you've got as much as you can get. And there's the London Marathon. You done the London Marathon as well. That's great. Hey, there's the London Marathon. Boy, you always see it on TV there. They watch it on TV, and there's a medal there. You know what I mean? You're doing another marathon here, Eamon, aren't you?
I'm doing the Boston so
You're doing another one for charity there?
For the Ulster Concert thing.
Ulster Concert at the end, Eamon. Well, tell me, I see you're out of that show last year we had there. Well, you had, obviously, I was part of it, and I was very much honoured to be part of it.
You had some, yourself and the likes of the Braid. Big John. We've probably run the most successful amateur boxing show, white-collared amateur boxing, and Ballymena, Northern Ireland history. I actually talked to the wee doctor who run one for All Saints a couple of weeks after it or something, and he says
Paul Hardy,
that's who it was, and he says of all the white collar boxing shows he's done in the last
I've never seen nothing like it.
He says he's never seen nothing like it. You know, we raised the cost of £20,000.
Where did that money go to then? In what way did you disperse that money?
Well, we gave eight of it to Ulster Concert, and you know yourself, we had young Darren, a young nephew of yours. We sent him to Man United.
That's right, indeed, certainly, of course.
Sent him to Man United.
No doubt about it.
That was great, and then we also had the Samaritans, the local Ballymena Samaritans, and we gave them a cheque for £5,000 out of it, and the wee amateur club itself put money out of it, so all round. So
the Samaritans Ulster Concert Foundation, you'd obviously give me a great donation as far as taking Darren to Old Trafford concerned. Well, Eamon, that's some hell that you're going for another one then this year.
Well, that's the big plan. I think we want to go bigger and better.
Well, you can only plan to get bigger and better.
We're looking for a big star at the moment, and this might be a wee call to match yourself maybe on it. We can get you talked into doing it again.
Well, I don't know him. I've been getting a phone call before I heard there myself. You know, he sort of wanted me maybe to maybe get a hassle going. You know, so. No, I would love to take part in it again. I mean, and obviously, it was great for me to take part in it, and I really enjoyed the fitness part of it, and taking part in it, and everything that went along with it, and the camaraderie amongst all the boys, and on the night, and after had a pint of beer and all, it was great.
And as what John O'Rourke says, and John McCreasty both says, we united the town that night.
Everybody was there. There was no differences.
There was no differences.
Everybody was
fantastic. There was a great feeling.
Some atmosphere in the moment.
A great feeling that a friend of mine, Trevor Ringan and Mickey Hart, were talking there not too long ago about the coming together.
I've seen that. That's right.
If they'd have been at our show, they would have seen it. They've seen a great example of Ballymena united as one that night. and involved in boxing, and also for the fact that the charities, you know, it was a fantastic night. One of the nights I'd be very, very proud of.
I certainly
my life. You know, I can look back on that.
Well,
that means as much to me that night, and you know, you yourself, sir, the whole town was talking about it. With the town buzzing a month before it, and a month after it was the talk of the town.
Oh,
so,
even I'm still living after food. I'm still living after food famous on it. But listen, I'm going to end the show here, Eamon, because my dinner's on, and the sponsor's probably about too much. I'm just going to end the show here, ladies and gentlemen, by saying it's been great to be made welcome out in Eamonns' house here tonight. And Eamon, I want to thank you very much. I know that. Eamon, I want to thank you very, very much for everything you've done for yourself, for your own family, and the Lights Inspiration you give a lot of other people, and most importantly for bringing that there back home to this town, and it's still here. Eamon, thank you very, very much indeed. It's been a pleasure to know you all my life, and long may it continue. This is I'll give you your belt back. This is Sugar in you here with the great Eamon Loughrran, ex-WBO World Boxing Champion, the only man ever followed me to lift the belt and bring it back home live.